Hey folks, Adam Anderson here. I wanted to share a tool that I use with my coaching clients or with our mastermind group members to help them know exactly what they need to work on in their business without doing a complicated and expensive strategic planning session over like a couple of days. This takes literally less than 30 minutes. And so what you see in front of yourself is the self-assessment results of the individual systems inside of a company. And what you see is the first assessment, then the assessment a year later, and then the assessment after 2 years. And that on the right is a company that runs itself, where the owner of the company was able to take a 3-month vacation in Australia with his wife and his kids. Where on the far left here, he was in panic state where he was doing everything and it was all on his shoulders. So why don't we go ahead and look at what that process looks like real quick. And then, if it makes sense, you can reach out to me. So here we go. If we look at the process, here's the base. What I do is I help and I sit with the entrepreneur as they go through a self-assessment. And that self-assessment has 6 core super systems. And these core super systems have subsystems, business systems underneath it. So if you look at customer acquisition, you have marketing, sales, customer experience, retention, etc., etc. Then you have 5 questions that you answer, and by the time you're done answering them, I have a score. And this is very, very subjective stuff, but this is enough to let me get a kind of a good idea of where you are. And I break people down into 4 stages. Business is happening to me, by me, through me, for me. At the to me stage, you're a entrepreneur and you're doing everything, and if you take a day off, the whole thing fails. At the for me stage, literally you don't have to show up, right? You have people, processes, and systems that run, report, and are governed by a executive staff. It's fantastic. So at the beginning of this gentleman was at a 4, and that was business is happening by me. By the time we were done, he had jumped to a 7. And this 7 is what allows him to be gone right now in Australia rather than in England working very, very hard. Right, so the process again is you take the self-assessment, you get your score, then we start looking at the individual systems. Because what your initial impulse is, I got to get all of these everywhere. I got to expand all these numbers. But that's not the case, because depending on your phase, there's certain things that happen in a certain order. So what his problem was is he could not grow sales and marketing because he was so busy doing operations, right? He had outsourced finance, which is why it's so good. And so he really needed to fix his back office and his HR. So that was the first thing that he did. And that allowed him to expand, right? So let's take a look at what happened year 2. So he hired a COO, a general manager. That general manager stepped in, did a lot of his back-end business systems, got the hiring train going, because as you grow, you really need to put more people into your company. And he was able to focus on sales and marketing. His product didn't change much, but his product was already great. And after that period was over, second year goes in, he then hired a VP of sales. And so what you're looking at is when another human being that has repeatable processes and systems in place that can be measured takes ownership of a core business system, you then begin to manage it. And this is how a C-suite is built. This is how your leadership team is built, is you go step by step. What is the next right hire? What is the next right position that I need to put into place? And also, how do I make sure I have enough profit and enough money to make sure that I can do that without putting the company at risk? What happens is that you typically try to do this overnight. And this was a 2-year process for him to go from a 4 all the way up to a 7. So don't rush it. It's a long process. Do it safely. Look forward to hanging out.